All right, welcome to Talk Tickers. Today, we're digging into the Q2 2025 earnings call for Lineage Cell Therapeutics. And believe me, this is a really fascinating story that's starting to unfold. So if you just glanced at the headlines, things looked pretty messy. The company posted a pretty significant loss of 13 cents per share. But then you look at the market, and the stock actually ticked up nearly 2%. So that's the big question, right? What did investors see that made them completely ignore that headline number? Well, they were clearly looking straight through the accounting noise and locking onto a much more compelling story. So let's dig in and figure out what they saw. Okay, first up, let's unpack those financials. We have to understand what was driving that reported loss on one side and all the positive feeling on the other. So that big, ugly GAAP loss? Well, it was almost entirely because of two large non-cash charges. You had a nearly $15 million impairment on an old program and another $12.7 million from a warrant remeasurement. I mean, this is basically accounting stuff that has next to nothing to do with how the business is actually running day to day. And in fact, once you strip out all that noise, the operational picture looks really strong. Revenue came in at $2.77 million. That's a 96% jump year over year, and it absolutely crushed what analysts were expecting by about 75%. And if you look at it on an adjusted basis, they actually beat earnings expectations. And here's the most important number of all. The company is in a great cash position. They finished the quarter with $42.3 million in the bank. And what that means is they have plenty of runway all the way into the first quarter of 2027 to hit their big goals without having to go back to the market for more money. All right, enough with the numbers. Let's get to the clinical story, which is what the market was really focused on. And it all starts with their lead program, OpRegen, for dry AMD. This is the one they've partnered on with the pharma giant Roche and its subsidiary Genentech. Now, management was not shy on the call. They're positioning this therapy as a potential one-time functional cure. The CEO himself said the data is, quote, challenging the long-held view that GA is an irreversible condition. I mean, that is a huge claim. But here's the thing. They've got some pretty compelling data to back it up. And what's really incredible here is the durability of these results. We're looking at data 3 years out. Patients who got full cell coverage saw their treated eye gain an average of 9 letters of vision. But their other eye, the untreated one, lost 11 letters. You do the math. That's a 20-letter swing between the two eyes, and it looks like that gap just keeps getting wider over time. But it's not just about OpRegen. Lineage is also making some really smart moves in their spinal cord injury program, OPC1, and this represents another major shot on goal for them. Right before the earnings call, they hit this massive milestone. They successfully treated their first patient with a chronic spinal cord injury. And this is a really big deal because now we're talking about a much larger group of potential patients, not just those with brand new injuries. And you know what? This is just a perfect example of how they're systematically de-risking this whole program. They've got a new delivery system that's safer. They don't even have to stop the patient's breathing to administer it. And it's way simpler to use with a new thaw and inject formula that makes life a whole lot easier for the hospitals and clinics running the trials. So I think the market is finally starting to see something else here. That Lineage isn't just a one or two trick pony. Underneath these clinical programs, they are building a really powerful and potentially very valuable cell therapy platform. Look, this isn't just some small research lab. They have their own in-house manufacturing that can produce millions of doses. They have incredible scientific expertise. And here's the kicker. They're showing they can use this engine to create new drugs and get other people to pay for it, like with that recent $12 million deal for their new hearing loss program. That's non-dilutive funding, which is huge. Okay, so what does this all add up to? Where do we go from here? Let's put it all together for our final take on the company. So looking ahead, there are a few key things you're going to want to keep your eyes on. Any updates from Roche on the OpRegen partnership, for sure. The first bits of data from that OPC1 study in chronic patients. And we're also watching for news on a big grant application they have in, which we should hear about by the end of the year. For investors, this sets up what we're calling a strategic diversification arbitrage. Basically, the bet is that the market is going to stop valuing them just for the drugs they have now and start valuing the factory that makes the drugs, especially since they can keep spitting out new products with other people's money. Right now, the market values the pipeline, not the engine. So when you put it all together, the powerful OpRegen data, the smart de-risking in OPC1, and this clear platform strategy, our call is an outperform rating. Our prediction is that this stock is going to re-rate over the next year or so as the market wakes up and realizes this isn't just a biotech pipeline, it's a capital-efficient cell therapy factory. This is not financial advice.